Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we're going to talk about The Mick, Season 1, Episode 1. It's the pilot. We're going to keep this spoiler free. I don't think there's any reason to go into... Maybe a couple of spoilers at the end. We'll warn you before we do it, though. And this is a new comedy, and as all with all sitcoms, we don't continue covering sitcoms week to week. We just try them out and give you a sort of thoughts on the pilot, because really there's not a whole lot to talk about each week to week with them. But the premise of this one, the Mick, it stars Caitlin Olsen, who plays MacKenzie, and she is a kind of a mess, basically. She's like a 30-something, no job. We see her kind of stealing stuff from the supermarket. She's a wreck, but her sister's really rich, or her sister married a rich man, and they live in a mansion, and they have these kids. And the plot is that they end up going to... They get arrested, but they flee the country. They go on the run, and Mackenzie's left to be the guardian for the three kids in the mansion. So it's very kind of Uncle Buck-esque, the plot.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Uncle Buck, Connor? Are you familiar with
I've not seen it, but I know what it is.
Yeah. So you have the crazier uncle, not as crazy as she is in this, admittedly, but you have the crazier, uncle auntie coming in and looking after the kids, and the kids are all kind of caricatures of whatever. The teenage daughter's kind of a rates activist, but also really bitchy. The middle son basically acts like he's a one percenter, and
he's a pompous knob.
Yeah,
is the phrase you're looking for.
He keeps talking about suing people and how the system favours the wealthy, so we'll be fine, and just phrases like that.
The scales of justice will tip.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And then the youngest kid, Ben's he's just a young kid.
He's just a kid, yeah.
He just asks lots of questions, and he's just typical. He's the normal one, I guess. He's the most normal character of the entire show.
He's too young to have been influenced either way.
Yeah, and then there's the maid character, Alba, who's there as well. She's like a sort of regular character who Mackenzie kind of bonds with in a weird way, because she doesn't want to be, all demanding, but at the same time she still expects her to make her breakfast and stuff like that. So that's the setup. So you've got the aunt looking after the three kids, who all kind of... The youngest one's okay with her, I guess, but the older son and Sabrina, the teenage daughter, don't want anything to do with Sabrina. I didn't mean that.
I know.
I didn't mean
know.
that.
Sorry, I couldn't help but smile when you said
it. Sabrina, not a witch, just teenager. She's very hostile towards her and tries to sneak around and basically calls her names into her face and things like that. And that's your setup. That's the show. Is it any good? It's not terrible. It's kind of...
No, I mean, it's very basic.
It's got that weird thing where this might grow into something good, but right now it's so basic, just trying to set up the... I'll say this, I didn't laugh a whole lot. I smirked at a couple of things.
Yeah, a couple of chuckles here and there.
There was... The ending had a funny joke. There was a moment where one of the kids get into a fight at school, and there was so much blood in his face when he walked in. I actually thought that was really funny, because it was made up to look like he'd been in a boxing match almost, the way how bloody he looked.
Yeah, like a full broken nose sort of thing.
It was like out of a horror movie how much blood he had on his face, and that was kind of funny, just how absurd it was.
The idea that they just let him leave school and kind of go home with all that.
Yeah, he's a rich kid with, family's got a mansion, but the school he goes to doesn't even have a nurse who'll take care of him.
Yeah.
But that was kind of it. I think honestly the biggest problem with this show, and this shouldn't be something we hold against it. It's impossible for it to get over this, and it's not really the show's fault. But because Caitlin Olsen is from It's Always Sunny, every time our character said something or did something, I was like, this is kind of like Dee from It's Always Sunny, but there's something missing. Like, the wit that's in the writing of It's Always Sunny wasn't there.
You're right, it's because her character is sort of similar. They're kind of both a mess.
They're both awful people.
Yeah.
Because there was a couple of moments when she would be cruel to her friend who she made drive her to the mansion.
I think if Sabrina had called her a bird at some point, I'd have lost it.
Yeah, because when she does the whole thing where she makes her friend drive her to the mansion and just kind of uses them, it was like, that's a very D thing to do.
And that's like the first thing you see as well. So it kind of immediately draws these parallels.
And the problem with that is because some of the writing's not as good and it's not as witty or as cutting, partly because it's on a network, it's on Fox, it's not on FX. Amusingly, obviously, they're related to each other, but because of that, it doesn't quite have the edge that It's Always Sunny does to just tackle. And it kind of approaches it like that line about, the scales of justice helping the wealthy. That is bordering on cutting. And there's even a joke. I won't spoil it, but there's a joke with it alludes to a very strong curse word, which I wouldn't have expected to see in a show on a network,
show, yeah.
in a comedy. And that was kind of, again, bordering on edgy. But It's Always Sunny, the first episode of It's Always Sunny, is about race issues, and there's constant, really edgy jokes that are like satirical and pointing out things that white and black people do around each other to try and not be, uncomfortable. Second episode's about abortion and so on. Like, it keeps going, and every single time it's like tackling these issues, and it's not afraid to make really abrasive comments about it in a really funny way.
This is much more palatable for the masses.
Yeah, this is kind of like dancing around. It's like, oh, we'll kind of poke at it a little bit.
It is kind of D, but watered down and then thrown into a rich world.
Which, I mean,
Always Sunny has done on a good few episodes. And this kind of does feel like one of those, just watered down.
But you're where the hell's Mac? Where's Charlie? Where's Dennis?
Yeah.
Where's Frank? You're like,
you almost expect them to come and visit at some point.
But they're not. But I think that's you kind of hit the nail on the head there. She's watered down D.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they have her doing more ridiculous things, despite the fact that she's watered down. Because they can't just...
It is unfair of us to complain about this. Though.
It is kind of unfair. I agree it's unfair, but you can't get it out of your head, because you know her as this character.
Yeah, maybe if you watched like 20-odd episodes of this, after that, you'd be like, okay, maybe she grows into a bit more.
Because the problem, as we again said at the start, is that she is so like Dee. Like, if it was a completely different character, we wouldn't be making this, I can't get It's Always Sunny out of my head. No, if she was playing, like, a seriously dark, like, character or something that was completely different, like, night and day different from Dee from It's Always Sunny, this wouldn't be a problem, because it would be so different. But because it's so similar, but it's lacking the bite. It's lacking the bite, but it's less subtle.
Yeah.
And as a result, it feels less witty and less funny.
It does.
So, and I don't know how they combat that beyond developing it into a more interesting character.
I mean,
different.
Arguably the other solution is bring up the rest of the cast so that it doesn't matter as much. Like elevate all these other characters so that they've got more than just these cliches going for them, to the point where, sure, she's still watered down D, but you're not noticing it as much because she's not such a visceral focus of the episode.
I will say this, at least she should grow out of it to an extent, because unlike It's Always Sunny, this is a show where I can see her growing and becoming kind of a mother figure, and almost by accident.
Because she's around people who aren't maybe in the same situation and quite as awful. Or at least if they're awful in different ways.
That's not why I would say that. Even though you're right, that's true. I would say that because It's Always Sunny is kind of designed to be a cartoon. It's a live-action cartoon where things don't develop and things don't matter in that sense. And that's okay, because that's that style of show.
And it's designed to be very cynical in that sense
yeah,
as well.
Yeah. That's kind of the point of that show. Whereas this feels like a show where... I don't see it having a great big arc, but there'll be a bit of an arc where by the end of season 1, she'll have grown to kind of like the kids, or they'll have grown to kind of like her, and they'll feel a bit more human. Like, you see it going that way.
Yeah, it's kind of... That's kind of my biggest problem with this. It feels very obvious for a lot of it. Like that, like you see, that's the obvious way to go. And I feel like a lot of these relationships at the minute feel very obvious. And it is just a first episode, and maybe they can get past that, but there it is.
Yeah, and I can see Sabrina as well. Like, she'll hate her for a while, and they'll have this kind of rivalry relationship, but there'll be the moment late in the season or whenever when she sticks up for her. She realizes that they have like and they'll keep being the way they are after that. They'll still have but it'll be more of a friendly thing where they constantly bicker at each other and crack jokes. And
that said, I thought those two were probably my favourite pairing.
Probably because obviously because she's older, Sabrina's got like an actual adult actress playing her. I think that's maybe why they have the best.
That helps, yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, I don't know if her stuff was actually the funniest so far.
I don't know. I think I like the bits that are a bit more consistent.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. They're more consistent. Whereas the kid stuff was back and forth.
Yeah.
So some things were kind of amusing, and other things weren't. I certainly wasn't laughing out loud. I think I let out one audible laugh the entire episode.
one plus the ending.
Well, the ending's kind of, because we watched this together, and the ending's kind of cheating because I said something before they made a joke, and then because of what I said, the joke was funnier.
It was a fairly good joke anyway. To be fair to it, but
It was made much funnier.
We'll never have that joke without that context, which undoubtedly made it funnier.
Yeah, because I made a comment, not knowing they were going to make a joke about it. I just made a comment based on something I seen on the screen, and then they said something that kind of played off it. I don't think there's any reason to go into spoilers, so we'll just leave it like that. But it made it a lot funnier to us in context, just because of the comments we made. But
yeah, definitely. The thing is, it's really not bad. I'd probably recommend trying it out anyway.
Yeah, try it. I think a lot of the jokes are obvious, but honestly, I feel like that's true of a lot of comedy sitcoms. Like in the pilots,
especially in the early episodes. Yeah.
I feel like the pilots, maybe the first couple after the pilot, always feel really obvious as they're setting up what the dynamics are.
Yeah.
They're scared to be subtle, but once they establish the relationships and what the running jokes are, it can get... I always say this, I use this example every time. I used it when we talked about People of Earth, I'll use it again for the end of time.
Every time, yeah.
Parks and Recreation, Season 1 is garbage.
Yeah.
You hit Season 2, gold. One of the best sitcoms of all time.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, don't take our kind of, I don't know about this, as a complete damnation.
The thing is, it could get a lot better, and often comedies do. Or it could just kind of stay like this forever, and that's it.
But then there's shows like Speechless last fall, where we watched that first episode and we're like, man, this is actually really good. This is really funny.
That was probably one of the best first episodes of a sitcom I've seen in a long time.
Surprisingly good that one was. But that's the Mick. Let us know what you thought of it in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. Obviously, we won't be doing any more episodes, but we don't do that with comedies anyway, regardless of how we felt in the first one.
Out of interest, do you feel like maybe come summer, you got a bit of time on your hands, you'll maybe try this out, give it a binge and get through the season?
Once I've binged the current season of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I've binged the current season of Speechless, which I've not watched since the pilot, because I like to let comedies build and just binge them at the end, because they binge so well.
Yeah.
They really do. Once I've done those, and I'm looking for something else, I might go to this and see, I'll probably binge Last Man on Earth, a couple of...
this is something I'll probably keep my eye on, check out if, if other people are enjoying it or not. In, a few weeks. But
it's interesting how this is kind of like Last Man on Earth. This is Fox starting a mid-season comedy here and seeing how it does. Because Last Man on Earth did that. It was like January time that started. And then they brought that back and that's done alright. So, hopefully. But let us know what you thought. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Helps us out a lot if you do. Thank you very much for watching and we'll see you next time.